저것,
무엇 때문에 엄마?
너를 위해 내가 죽기 전에.
엄마, 서울은 아름다운 월조로 가득해요.
미모는 풍하지만 친절은 그렇지 않아요.
Madam Jang, I'm Naledi Khumalo, your night nurse. I'm just gonna check your vitals, okay?
You are not Korean. No, Mom, I'm from Johannesburg.
Your son has not left for 3 nights now. He pretends he's ruthless. He needs someone to take care of him.
Someone like you. I think your son is doing just fine. No, he is single.
The intensive care unit, ICU, smelled of antiseptic, dying machines, and truths people waited too long to say. Jang Tae-won stood at the bedside, his spine straight, shoulders squared like he was facing an enemy instead of the woman who had given him life. The rhythmic beeping of the monitor was too steady, too calm for what was happening inside his chest. His mother's fingers, once strong enough to discipline an entire household with a single look, tightened around his hand. She turned her head slowly. Then she whispered 5 words that detonated his world. That one. I want her. Tae-won followed her trembling finger across the ICU. The nurse stood near the far bed, adjusting 4 lines with unhurried precision. Dark brown skin, calm hands, a quiet focus that made the chaos of the ward soften around her. Her hair was pulled back neatly, curls restrained but not erased, and when she smiled at a frightened elderly patient, something inside Tae-won misfired. His heart stuttered. For what, mother? He asked quietly, already uneasy. She looked at him then, really looked, and her eyes were sharp despite the morphine, cutting straight through the armor he'd spent 15 years forging. For you, she said. Before I die. The most feared man in Seoul's underworld felt something rise in his chest that he had buried long ago. Hope. If you love intense, action-packed romance stories where danger and love collide, subscribe now to AfroK Tales. You don't want to miss what happens next. The fluorescent lights buzzed with the same soulless hum they always did at night. Tae-won sat in a plastic chair clearly designed to discourage staying too long, his custom Italian suit a violent contrast to the sterile white walls. At 36, he ruled an empire most people pretended didn't exist, shipping routes that moved more than electronics, nightclubs that cleaned more than money, men who obeyed him without hesitation because they had seen what happened when people didn't. None of that mattered here. His mother, Madame Jang Sun-hee, lay weak in the bed, her breath shallow, her skin translucent. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Days. Maybe a week. Taiwan, she murmured in Korean. I'm here, he said, leaning closer. Her gaze drifted again. The nurse was moving between beds now, humming softly, something unfamiliar, rhythmic. Not Korean, not American pop. African. She adjusted a drip, spoke gently to another patient, and laughed softly when the man complained about hospital food. The sound was warm. Human. That one. His mother repeated, tightening her grip. I want her. Tae-won frowned. Mother, Seoul is full of beautiful women. Her lips twitched. Beauty is common. Kindness is not. The nurse approached. Madam Jang, she said warmly. I'm Naledi Khumalo, your night nurse. I'm just going to check your vitals, okay? Her Korean was accented but fluent. South African, Tae-won noted instantly. You are not Korean, his mother said. Naledi smiled. No, ma'am. I'm from Johannesburg. I've been in Seoul for almost 3 years. Her hands were steady, respectful, gentle. Your son has not left, Naledi added. 3 nights now. Madam Jang's eyes gleamed. He pretends he is heartless. He is not. Naledi glanced at Tae-won, curiosity flickering, not fear. Not all. My son needs someone who sees him. Madam Jang continued shamelessly. Someone like you. Naledi laughed softly. I think your son is doing just fine. No, Madam Jang said firmly. He is alone. The word landed like a verdict. Naledi met Tae-won's gaze then. For the first time, truly met it. Sometimes, she said quietly, the most powerful people are the loneliest, because no one dares get close. Something cracked. An hour later, Tae-won intercepted Naledi near the medication station. Nurse Khumalo. Yes, Mr. Jang? If my mother embarrassed you. She didn't, Naledi said gently. She loves you. That's rare. He studied her. No flinching. No pretense. Have coffee with me, he said. After your shift. Tomorrow. She blinked. That's direct. My mother is dying, he said evenly. She asked me to try. Silence stretched. One coffee, Naledi said. I choose the place. The cafe she chose was small, crowded, imperfect. No dress code. No private rooms. Indie music hummed softly in the background. Taewon's bodyguard waited outside, visible and unavoidable. Naledi arrived in jeans and a sweater, her hair loose, her face free of makeup. She looked younger than her 30 years. This is your world, he asked. No, she said, smiling. This is real life. She studied him openly. You're not just a businessman. No. What do you do? He could have lied. I run an organization, he said. It operates in gray areas. Mafia? She asked calmly. Yes. She didn't run. She leaned back, exhaled slowly. Okay. That surprised him more than fear would have. I grew up in Johannesburg, Naledi said. I've seen violence. I've worked ER shifts that never made the news. Monsters don't always look monstrous. She looked at him. You sat by your mother's bed for 3 days. That counts. 3 weeks became stolen hours. Late-night calls. Coffee runs. Waiting outside the hospital. Listening. Tae-won found himself doing reckless things. Smiling. Naledi learned quickly that his silence wasn't cruelty. It was discipline. She learned his tells, the moments when the weight became too much. Madame Jang watched them with quiet satisfaction. You are falling, she told him one afternoon. It's been 3 weeks. I loved your father in one night, she said. Time is irrelevant. Min Jae, his second in command, laid photographs on the desk. Naledi leaving her apartment. Naledi at the cafe. Naledi laughing with Tae-won. The Yamaguchi-gumi, Min Jae said. They know she matters. Tae-won's jaw tightened. How long? 2 weeks. She's a target, Min Jae said. You need to end this. No, Tae-won said coldly. We protect her. The Han River glittered beneath the city lights. There are people watching you, Tae-won said. Naledi turned. Then we're careful. Careful won't save you. Are you breaking up with me? She asked sharply. I'm trying to keep you alive. I don't want to be protected from life, Naledi snapped. I want to be chosen. Then his phone buzzed. A photo. Her apartment. One line of text. Pretty nurse. Easy leverage. Naledi saw it. Fear finally entered her eyes. So teach me, she said after a long pause. I'm not leaving. Do you think Tae-won made the right choice by keeping her close instead of letting her go? Drop your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned to AfroK Tales, because the danger is just beginning.
Naledi sat on the edge of her bed in the safe house Tae-won had arranged, rubbing at the bruise blooming along her forearm. She hadn't realized how heavy the training gear would feel, or how hard Tae-won's world could hit. You're not going to quit, are you? He asked from the doorway, his tone careful but firm. I'm not a quitter, she said, meeting his gaze. And I chose this. You think I'd just run at the first sign of danger? He stepped closer, studying her. Most people would. I'm not most people, she said sharply, letting a hint of a smile slip. You saw what I did back in Johannesburg. You think Seoul is going to scare me? He shook his head. You're reckless. I like to think I'm brave. She leaned back, tugging at the edge of her sleeve. Besides, I don't see you backing down either. You're teaching me how to survive in your world. That means you have to let me try. No excuses. He ran a hand over his jaw, exhaling slowly. You've got fire. I warned you about fire. And I'm still here, she said, tilting her head, teasing him now. Guess fire doesn't scare me either. He smiled faintly, just enough to show he noticed. We'll see how you feel after the next drill. You keep saying drill, but this is life, she said, rolling her eyes. I think you enjoy watching me flinch. Only when it's useful, he said, deadpan. And you almost didn't flinch. She laughed, leaning against the wall. Almost doesn't count. The quiet was broken by a sharp knock at the door. Tae-won's hand instinctively went to his side, brushing against the pistol he carried at all times. Stay behind me, he said. Naledi didn't move. Relax. It's probably Min Jae, she said, trying to calm both herself and him. Min Jae stepped in, looking tense. Boss, There's movement near your mother's hospital. Surveillance flagged someone unusual. Tae-won's eyes narrowed. Do we know who? Not yet. But they're persistent. Following patterns we didn't expect. We think it might be a probe. Naledi's eyes widened. A probe? Reconnaissance, he corrected, his voice hard. They're testing our defenses. Do you mean enemies? She asked quietly. Yes. Tae-won's jaw clenched. And they know you're involved now. That makes you a target. She swallowed. I thought I was training for this. I didn't expect this. You should have, he said bluntly. Every choice in my world comes with consequences. Naledi exhaled, forcing herself to stay calm. Then teach me to handle them. You're going to have to learn fast, he said, stepping closer. Because once they make their move, there won't be time for hesitation. She nodded, determination hardening in her amber eyes. I'm ready. For the next hour, Tae-won ran her through every scenario he could think of: attacks from behind, crowded streets, car ambushes, how to notice tails, how to communicate silently. Naledi followed every instruction, absorbing the information quickly. At one point, she stopped and faced him. Tell me the truth, she said. Do you really care if I survive this? He hesitated, then met her gaze. I do. More than you realize. Her chest tightened. And I care about you. That's why I'm doing this. Not because I'm afraid, but because I want to be with you. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You're insane. Maybe, she said softly, but you like it. He smirked, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of vulnerability. I do. But don't think that makes me soft. Later that night, while they reviewed city maps and escape routes, Naledi finally asked what had been gnawing at her. Why me? Out of all the people in your world, why would your mother choose me? Tae-won paused. Because you see me. Not the boss. Not the empire. Just me. That's rare. I see you, she whispered. He looked at her, expression unreadable. Then you've made it more dangerous for yourself. She laughed softly, shaking her head. I knew that the moment you asked me for coffee. The following week, Tae-won's fears proved well-founded. Min-jae came rushing into the safe house just before dawn, face pale. Boss. They made their move. The van, it was outside Naledi's building. Tae-won's hands went to his sides, feeling the familiar weight of his guns. Where is she? She's gone. They took her. Naledi's eyes flared. What? They've got her, Min-jae said quietly. And they're sending a message. Tae-won's voice was calm, but every muscle in his body coiled. Message. Min-jae handed him a phone. A single video played. Naledi bound to a chair, bruised, bleeding slightly. A man's voice in Japanese spoke. Your empire or her life. You have 24 hours to decide. Naledi's breathing hitched. Is this real? It's very real, Tae-won said, voice low, deadly. And they want to break me by breaking you. She looked at him. Then we fight. He shook his head. You don't understand. If we go in wrong, they'll kill you. I'd rather die fighting than wait for someone to choose for me, she said fiercely. Tae-won's eyes darkened. You're impossible. Then follow me, she said. If you're going to save me, do it with me, not for me. He exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the coming storm. You asked for this, he said. You've chosen me. Now we fight together. They prepared immediately. Weapons were checked, escape routes memorized, men briefed. Tae-won moved like a shadow through the city, his mind already calculating every variable, every possible outcome. Naledi, though exhausted, stayed alert, following his instructions to the letter. Remember what I taught you, Tae-won said, crouching beside her in a parked car overlooking the warehouse district. Every door, every corner, every shadow can be an enemy. Trust nothing you see until I tell you it's safe. Naledi nodded. I trust you. You'll have to trust yourself too, he said, eyes sharp. Because in my world, hesitation gets people killed. The sun began to rise over Seoul, painting the river with streaks of gold. Tae-won turned to Naledi, voice almost tender. Whatever happens today, I'm not losing you. She reached out, gripping his arm. You won't. Not if I have anything to say about it. He let her hand stay there, a brief connection before the storm. The warehouse operation was brutal. Tae-won led the charge, every movement precise, every decision calculated. Naledi stayed close, following every instruction, defending herself when forced. Bullets tore through metal and concrete. Men screamed. Chaos reigned. And yet, through it all, Taewon's focus never wavered from her. He found her in the back room, still tied to a chair, still defiant. "Naledi," he shouted, cutting the ropes. She staggered into his arms. "I knew you'd come," she whispered. "I told you," he said, voice low. "You don't get taken from me." He carried her out through smoke and fire, men falling around them. She clung to him, her head against his chest. When they were safe, she pulled back, brushing sweat and grime from his face. "That was insane. Love makes people insane," he said. "And I choose you." Naledi pressed close that night, her hands wrapped around his neck. "We survived," she said. "But this isn't over, is it?" Taewon shook his head, holding her tight. "No, it never is. But we're alive. Together. That's the beginning. Would you risk everything for the person you love? Comment below and stay tuned to AfroK Tales. The battle has only begun, and the danger is far from over.
Taewon and Naledi emerged from the chaos of the warehouse raid bruised, battered, and alive. The city lights reflected in Naledi's amber eyes, and for the first time, Taewon allowed himself to breathe, if only briefly. "You were reckless back there," he said, voice low, scanning the street for tails. "I've been reckless all my life," she replied, a small smirk tugging at her lips. "You just made it more interesting." He shook his head, exhaling slowly. "You don't know the half of it." "I don't need to," she said, stepping closer, her hands brushing his chest. "I just know I don't want to lose you." Her words hit him harder than any bullet. Taewon's jaw clenched. "You have to understand," he said carefully. "Being with me doesn't come with guarantees. People die in my world. People you care about die." Naledi looked up at him, unwavering. "Then we'll fight together. If your enemies think they can scare me away, they're wrong." The next 2 weeks were a blur of training, planning, and watching each other. Taewon's empire had enemies waiting for the slightest misstep, and Naledi had to adapt quickly. She learned to read people, anticipate danger, and stay calm under pressure. But she also learned about Taewon, the weight he carried, the walls he'd built, and the rare moments when he let someone see his humanity. One evening, as they reviewed maps and patrol schedules, Naledi finally asked what had been on her mind since the attack. "Why me?" she asked softly. "Why did your mother choose me, knowing what this would mean?" Taewon paused, his eyes darkening. "Because you see me, not the boss. Not the empire. Just me. That's rare. And she wanted me to know what it feels like to be loved, not feared." Naledi's hand found his, squeezing lightly. "Then you've already shown me something too. I see you, Taewon. All of you." He exhaled slowly, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his features. "You make this harder than it already is." She laughed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Good. You'll need a challenge." Then came the next threat. Min-jae burst into the safe house late one night, panic in his eyes. "Boss," movement near Naledi's apartment. A black van was spotted, no plates. "They're scouting again." Taewon's lips pressed into a thin line. "Are you telling me they haven't given up?" "They're testing defenses," Min-jae said quietly. "Trying to see patterns, figure out how she's being protected." Naledi's hands clenched. "So what now? Do we move again?" Taewon shook his head. "No. We set a trap." She blinked. "A trap?" "Yes," he said, voice cold. "We make them believe they can get to you. Then we hit back. Hard." The operation was meticulous. Taewon's men shadowed every street, monitored every possible approach. Naledi followed his instructions to the letter, moving silently, blending into the city, every step calculated. During one stakeout, she whispered, "I can't believe how much I've learned in just a few weeks." "You'd be dead if you hadn't," he said sharply, but there was no anger in his eyes, only focus. "I'd rather die knowing I tried than live pretending I didn't care," she said, bold and steady. Taewon looked at her, truly looked, and something in him softened. "You're impossible," he murmured. "And you love it," she countered with a sly smile. Then came the call they'd been dreading. Min-jae's voice was clipped. "Boss." They've taken a family member hostage. The message, they're escalating. We have less than 12 hours. Tae-won's face hardened. Prepare for extraction. No mistakes. Naledi's heart raced. Do you ever stop to think about what we're risking? No, he said honestly. Because if I do, we lose. She took his hand. Then we fight together. All in. He squeezed her hand back. All in. The confrontation was brutal. Tae-won led the assault personally, each step calculated. Naledi stayed close, moving with precision, defending herself when forced. Bullets shredded the air, men screamed, chaos reigned. And through it all, Tae-won's focus never wavered from her. At one point, they cornered a group of Yamaguchi-gumi operatives. Naledi disarmed one, her movements fluid, trained, deadly when necessary. Tae-won glanced at her, surprised. You're getting good at this. She smirked. I told you, I'm not a quitter. He grunted, acknowledging the truth in her words. When they found her family member tied and gagged, Tae-won cut them free, pulling them into his arms. Naledi was at his side instantly, brushing tears from their faces. You okay? He asked, his voice barely audible above the chaos. Yes, she said, looking at him. Because you're here. I'll always be here, he said, brushing hair from her forehead. No one takes what's mine. After the raid, they returned to the safe house, exhausted but alive. Naledi leaned against Tae-won, silent, letting herself relax for the first time in weeks. You're not just dangerous, she murmured. You're human. And I like that. Tae-won's eyes softened. You make me want to be more than just dangerous. Her lips brushed his cheek. Then let me in. All the way. He took a deep breath, letting her words sink in. I'm trying, he said, voice low, almost tender. You're doing more than trying, she said, wrapping her arms around him. You're fighting for us. He held her close, feeling the weight of every enemy, every decision, every threat. And yet, for the first time in a long time, there was peace, even if fleeting. Days later, during a rare moment of quiet, Naledi asked the question he hadn't expected. What happens after all this? Tae-won looked at her, shadows of the city behind him. After this, we survive. Together. That's all I know. She smiled softly, leaning against him. Then let's survive. No matter what comes. But the peace didn't last. A new message arrived on Tae-won's phone. A single line, no video this time. She's alone. Your empire or her life. Decide. Naledi looked at him, fear flashing, but her jaw set firm. We face this. Together. No backing down. Tae-won's hands tightened around hers. You asked for this. You chose me. Now we finish it. Whoever stands against us won't survive. The storm was coming. The Yamaguchi-gumi weren't finished. And neither were Tae-won and Naledi. Who do you think will make it out alive in the next raid? Comment your predictions and stay tuned to AfroK Tales. The final battle for love and power is approaching. The night air was thick with tension as Tae-won and Naledi approached the Yamaguchi-gumi safe house. Every shadow seemed alive, every street corner a potential trap. Naledi tightened her grip on the compact pistol Tae-won had insisted she carry. Are you sure about this? She asked quietly. He glanced at her, amber light reflecting in his eyes. No one gets to threaten what's mine. This ends tonight. Together. She nodded, jaw set, determination flaring. Together. Inside the safe house, chaos awaited. Tae-won moved with the precision of a predator, every step calculated. Men fell before he even gave a second thought. Naledi stayed close, fluid and decisive, disarming opponents, taking down anyone who underestimated her. You've gotten fast, he said mid-fight, keeping one eye on the doors. Fast enough to survive, she shot back, ducking as a bullet ripped through the wall beside them. They reached the inner chamber. There, bound and bruised, was the latest hostage the syndicate had taken to force his hand. Tae-won's eyes narrowed. Stay behind me, he warned Naledi. She shook her head. No, I'm with you. All the way. He exhaled sharply, then surged forward. The room exploded in a blur of movement, shouts, and gunfire. Tae-won's men moved with deadly efficiency behind him, but he didn't falter, didn't hesitate, driven by something far stronger than strategy, love. Naledi saw him take a hit to the shoulder, blood streaking through his suit, but he kept going, eyes locked on the man who dared threaten them. She lunged, knocking the attacker off balance, delivering a brutal combination learned in weeks of training. Finally, the last of the enemies fell. The room went silent, the only sound the ragged breathing of Tae-won and Naledi. "Are you okay?" she asked, stepping closer, worry etched across her face. He forced a grin, blood on his lip. "Never better." She reached up, cupping his face. "You're insane. And you love it," he murmured, a flicker of a smile passing. Back at the safe house, Naledi tended to Tae-won's shoulder, carefully removing the bloodied bandages. "You know," she said softly, "I thought I was ready for danger. I wasn't ready for you." He looked at her, eyes dark and unreadable. "Me? You? Your world? Your heart? You're not just a mafia boss. You're—" She hesitated, searching for the words. "Human." He chuckled, a sound that made her chest ache. "I didn't think anyone would ever see that side of me." "See it and still stay," she said. His gaze softened. "Then you're the first." Days passed. The city slowly returned to its rhythm. Tae-won's empire remained intact, more powerful than ever, but the terror that once ruled him had softened, shaped by Naledi's presence. One morning, as sunlight filtered into their small safe house, Naledi brewed coffee. Tae-won leaned against the counter, watching her. "Peace suits you," he said quietly. "Peace suits us," she corrected. "You've earned this." He shook his head. "I haven't earned anything. You chose me." She smiled, handing him a cup. "And I always will." They sat together in silence, letting the quiet of the morning wrap around them. "You think your mother would approve?" he asked, breaking the stillness. Naledi reached for his hand. "She already does. She knew before either of us did." He exhaled, finally letting himself relax. "Then we honor her gift." But peace was never permanent. 6 months later, the Yamaguchi-gumi attempted retaliation. Tae-won's response was swift and merciless. Every move was calculated. Every territory they claimed was reinforced. Naledi remained by his side, a partner in both strategy and life. "You're a better partner than I imagined," Tae-won admitted one night, as they surveyed the city from a rooftop. "I told you," she said, smiling. "I'm not a quitter." He turned to her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I don't know how I survived before you." "You'll never have to," she said, leaning in. Their kiss was quiet, tender, a stark contrast to the violence they had just endured. It was a promise, a declaration, a beginning. Life in Seoul settled into a new rhythm. Tae-won expanded his territory, solidified his power, but no empire could compare to what he had found in Naledi. In a small apartment filled with her touches, plants, books, photographs, they found peace together. "You've changed me," he said one morning, sipping coffee. "You were waiting for someone to see your heart," she replied softly. He looked at her, warmth flooding through him. "You saw it before I even knew it existed." And for the first time, Tae-won didn't fear being human. The city hummed outside, alive with danger, opportunity, and possibility. But inside, Tae-won and Naledi had built a world of their own. Some choices are dangerous. Some are worth it. And sometimes, the most dangerous choice is the one that saves you. They were alive, together, and nothing could take that from them. Would you risk everything for love, even when the odds are stacked against you? Comment below and subscribe to AfroK Tales to witness more stories where love and danger collide.